Alrighty. Oh, okay. All right. You good over there, Don? Yeah. Good. Throwing any more notebooks around? No?
Not right now.
Okay. Thank you. Just trying to intro the show. Okay. All I hear. All right. Welcome back to the Different Spectrums podcast. If you haven't listened to our show before, we have conversations around mental health and we dabble in humor. We also try to help people understand, identify, and normalize their emotions from movies and shows, specifically certain scenes. You've probably already watched these movies and shows, but we're going to use a different perspective, and one could say a different spectrum.
Loki.
There he is. All right. And with that, I am your co-host for the show, Spencer. We are joined today. Shut up. We are joined today with two guests. One is a licensed clinical therapist. She's from the great state of Minnesota. Don't you know? Don't you know? At least she lives there. Whatever. It's Serena, everybody. Serena, welcome back.
Thanks.
All right.
Welcome back.
Moving on.
Still hella pregnant. Still hella pregnant.
Yep. Yes. That's good. We only have people that are having babies on the show. Dom, you're next.
No, we do
You
not.
are next.
And no. I don't want no 10-pound baby.
You're welcome.
Spence been eating his protein and veggies lately, so.
Yeah. That baby's about to be the Hulk.
I know. Jeez.
Okay.
All right, moving on. We also have our mental health practitioner. She's in school to be a therapist, people. She's getting there. Just started.
Baby steps.
Still stressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Dominique, everybody. Dominique.
Hello, good evening.
It's the afternoon, but all right.
It's evening, 3 p.m. Evening.
It's light out, but it's fine.
You're alive. Good fucking day, person. Good day.
Good sentence. All right, moving on. We have our other licensed clinical therapist, our co-host,
Demi?
and one of our jokesters.
Demi.
Our co-jokester. You.
Demi.
It's Nazir, everybody.
Hello.
It's baby Grogu. Which is
so cute.
I know.
It's even got a little coat. All right, I'm done.
I'm glad we can always take the time for you just to show off your plushies.
I bought $250 worth in like a month.
Fair enough. Which is that the problem that you spent the money or the problem that you bought so much? I don't know, but
I don't know.
It's hearsay. All right. So today we're going to be taking a look at a scene from the show Moms.
Mama.
Nazir, tell us about the scene, the clip. Go for it.
So I started watching this show way back when because I got mama issues. That's why I watched it.
You don't say.
Well, I don't trust women.
Makes sense. Adds up.
Yeah,
That's why we have That's why I have these guests on. We get their opinion, but we don't like it.
We don't trust it.
We don't trust it. You know, it's like the Fox News radio when they start talking. Okay. So as I was telling Dom and Serena earlier, it's the producer and the writer. Producer is Chuck Lorre. So he's made like 2.5 Men and a bunch of other hilarious shows on CBS, pretty much strictly CBS he works at. So he produced this. I think it had 8 seasons. The main star was Anna Faris, but she didn't do the last season. So specifically, it's a bunch of women. All of them are addicts, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, right? And then the mom and the daughter, and then her daughter all live in the same house for pretty much the series. This specific episode, season 7, I forgot what episode it is, but season 7. So it's the second to last season. And they finally get the mom to go to therapy. This therapy, though, she's going in for ADHD because they're like, hey, man, I think you got ADHD. So she goes in for it. We're going to watch a scene on how someone may act going into therapy, maybe suspicious or odd or questioning or, I don't trust you. And then she tries to therapize the therapist, which is pretty funny. And then she starts forming a bond and she starts doing good work. She sees the therapist the rest of the season, sees the therapist all of season 8. Season 8 is interesting because he ends up getting divorced, the therapist, and like loses everything. And they end up helping him out in his job. It's actually kind of weird and hell of a twist. So let's get into this clip. I think it'll just be good for people to show what resistance would look like. Then overall just questioning and then kind of going with it.
Yeah.
Spence, anything to add?
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop.
Woo. All right, let's get into the scene. Let's check it out.
I bet you're pretty surprised to see me.
Well, you did call for an appointment.
I bet that surprised you.
Sure.
I just thought I'd prove to you that I'm not clinging to my condition.
Bonnie, you don't have to prove anything to me. I'm pretty much a stranger.
Disappointing. I was hoping this would be a little more adversarial.
Give it time.
All right. So start doing your thing.
How do you know I haven't started already?
Touché. Welcome to the game. So to recap, your Bonnie bullet points are: abandoned as a little kid, kicked out of 12 foster homes, never my fault. On my own by 16, full-blown addict and criminal by 18, sober at 50, and hopefully by 60, doctor, lawyer.
You know, it sounds like your ADD actually served you quite well.
What are you talking about?
Your childhood was a nightmare, and your ability to check out from that might have saved your life.
So I should be grateful that I've got ADD?
It may have been a very helpful coping mechanism. It allowed your brain to avoid some pretty terrible feelings.
Huh.
But you're in a safe place, so you can allow those feelings to come up and be healed.
Okay.
So what are you feeling, Bonnie?
I feel pretty pissed off, Trevor.
You have every right to be.
I do?
Yes, your life was heartbreaking.
Uh-huh.
If I were you, I'd feel pretty enraged at what had happened to me.
Yeah.
The trauma of your childhood informed every moment of your life since then.
Oh my God! I'll see you next week. Don't let this discourage you in any way.
All right, we're back. Dominique, do you have anything to share right off the bat about the clip that we just watched?
Yeah, the first thing I thought about was the
back.
reluctant swallow. Oh, wow. Sound like a teapot that needs to be taken off the stove.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
It's a big
Continue.
gas teapot. Jesus.
He's boiling. He's hot. There he is. Put out to-
All right,
okay.
I'm done.
The first thing I thought of was the reluctant swallow reflex. Because I'm also just like trash at swallowing pills. I'm a child. I have to use applesauce. You know, it's not good. But it works. I do what I gotta do.
I do what I gotta do.
What I gotta do. Don't worry about it.
Only intravenous drugs. She's like, I only smoke my drugs.
Exactly.
Talking like you're in war or something. Like, I do what I gotta do.
Do what I gotta do.
You're sipping applesauce for some pills.
She's like, I'm trying to be cryptic. Anyways. And then the other thing I was thinking of was how uncomfortable and awkward she was for the very first therapy session. Made me think of my first therapy session. I feel like I kind of like blacked it out, but I just remember being very nervous and whenever I'm really nervous about something, I just go on autopilot and I just don't remember what happens afterwards. So I definitely remember being very nervous going into it, and it was because it was through BetterHelp, and I had never used the site before, and I just didn't really know what to expect. And I knew that for other people in my life, it takes them a few times to find a therapist that fits for them. So I was kind of anticipating that, like, I'm not going to like this one. Probably I'm going to have to start my story over however many times. I got lucky, been with the same one for like be 3 years this year. So I got lucky, but I just remember just being super uncomfortable, and I was like, I don't know where to begin. Like, what do you want? Like, you asked me questions. Like, I could start anywhere. I have a lot of information, so I just don't know where you want me to begin. And then it took me a few sessions before I could feel really comfortable and then just divulge my entire life.
Facts. Do you remember what the first question was? Were they like, tell me your name, Jennifer? What?
I remember doing like a little questionnaire thing beforehand. And then I think she was just like, what made you decide to start therapy? Or like
sense.
what like brought you here now versus earlier? And I was like, my cousin told me I should find a therapist. So here I am.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, I can't remember. It's been a couple years now. And like I said,
Yeah.
I was really nervous and I was just autopilot. So,
were you nervous for? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, you're fine. Ask.
I was just going to ask, were you nervous for the next therapist too? I would assume, right? Or maybe a little less nervous for the first session.
I think it took like 2 or 3 sessions for me to feel comfortable, but I definitely wasn't as nervous as the very first one.
Okay.
So the very first one, I was just like, but after that, it took a couple, I think by like the 3rd or 4th, I was like, all right, Rebecca, let's roll. I have some news for you.
Yeah.
I had the tea. She made me feel very comfortable and just like validated, heard, understood the works. She's good.
Good.
That's one of my favorite things when clients get comfortable enough with us that they start coming in, like they close the door and they're, girl, guess what? I'm like, oh, do tell. Like, that's my favorite when they move from that scared, like, I'm sweating, what do I say, what do you want from me, are you judging me, to oh, I can't wait to tell my therapist about this. And
yeah,
the best.
Hilarious.
I guess I can talk a little. My first counseling experience was really similar. I had definitely more of the resistance, but actually I was mandated because I was a bit of a naughty kid. But I remember just being like, this is so stupid. I don't want to be here. And I just had kind of anticipated the conversation, or even what I would get back from the therapist would be like what I had gotten from everyone else in my life. And it was honestly just a game. She didn't do that much, but just letting me have space to talk and not trying to correct me, because I was younger. I was, I think, 17 at the time, and not trying to be like, well, you shouldn't be doing that. Did you know that that's bad? Don't do that. Yeah. I was like, she's just listening to me and accepting me, and it broke my walls down immediately. So that was cool.
You're so traumatized. It's so sad.
I mean, aren't we all just a little bit? Lifelong work.
Yeah. Like, why are you listening to me? And then I go in automatically, I don't trust you, bitch.
Oh.
But I can really relate to that. It's honestly helped me. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, why would you trust me? You know what? Like, these are kind of some strengths of, like, you should be a little hesitant to some extent, at least cautious, open, but cautious. So sometimes I think, even from my experiences, my resistant clients, especially the really angry ones, they're some of my favorite clients, because it's so rewarding if you can punch through that angry shell. And most of the time it comes from a space of just being hurt over and over and over. So they've just built this big wall. So I've always had a lot of fun. I kind of have this special sweet spot for my, like, really angry clients. I'm like, I'm going to get you. I'm going to break that down.
Let me love you, damn it.
Exactly.
Do you, what about any of that awkward stuff? Do you ever have those sessions where you both just kind of sit there and stare at them, and like they're not saying much, you're not saying much, and you just try to give them space? Because I got a couple stories working with a ton of neurodivergent folks. This happens a lot. But Serena, you got any stories where it's awkward as shit and you're both just kind of sitting there picking boogers?
I have, well, yes. I've had some, like with resistant ones. I remember there was one time I was trying to get her to label basically any emotion besides anger. And I was like, what do you think this was? I was trying to put, what were you, what was the body sensations? And she was like, I don't know. And she was like this. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm not going to press on this anymore. I'm getting the signs that this is annoying. And so there was a moment where we kind of just, it was a moment of me more being like, how do I kind of change into something different? Yeah. Anyway, the weather. So I've had
my phone rings.
I've had a couple that weren't so much resistant clients, but where I'm like, what do you want to work on? And they're like, nothing really. They're like, just wanted to come in. And I'm like, okay. So I'll ask all these general questions. And then I'll be like, okay, so. And they're like, I don't know. And so there's been times where we'll just sit and I'm like, do you want to end early? Like anything? So I've had those. And sometimes I just kind of address it. And I'm like, well, I'm not sure what more to cover. If you've got anything, if not.
Thanks.
But yeah. I'd be curious to hear what yours are.
Well, I'm going to vibe off of that. I'll have clients where I've been working with them for a while, and they'll come in. So, what's up? How we doing today? I'm good, real good. Okay, good. Anything to talk about? Nope, everything's pretty good. So why the fuck you ain't just cancel so I can go to lunch? How was class? The relationships are good. Yep. The parents are good. Yep. Okay. Oh, I remember this thing that happened. That's how it goes every time. Because they'll go in there kind of blank. It's like when I go to the doctor and I'll leave, I'm like, damn, I ain't asked about shit. I got like 5 moles he was supposed to check out, and he didn't look at one of them.
As you have like a big mound of skin just like appear, like
a little talking tumor.
Like, oh yeah, I should have talked about that. Damn. Yeah, you should have.
Yeah. Speed dial through his little hand.
Oh my God.
So stupid. It happens all the time. I'll be like, all right, so there was a lot to talk about today. And they're like, I guess so. I like to end my sessions at the end with like a quick synopsis, like a bullet point, literally bullet point. And you can remember this, right? Yeah. Say back what I just said. Okay, let's go over it again. And so we'll go over it one more time in bullet points. If I know that they've got ADHD, then we'll write it down on my whiteboard. And then they'll take a photo of it, and then they got it on their phone because they're going to lose the paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone's losing the paper. So those are the fun stories when they don't really have much to say. The awkwardness, sometimes when so a lot of my neurodivergent folks, I'll ask a question, and you got the folks that will sit there and think and ponder. And then they have to think about what words they want to say or what story they want to say. And so I make these questions very, very, very specific, because if it's too general, now they have to go through all that data and it's just too much. So if I say, how's your day? They're like, well, I woke up today, I brushed my teeth, I did this and that. I'm like, motherfucker, it's 5 o'clock. Can we speed through this? So, okay, how was classes? Did you make it to all your classes? Yes. Did you get all your homework done? Yes. So it'll be systematically all the things that we need to cover. Any anxiety in class? No. Any panic attacks in class? No. Did you cry after class because you were overstimulated? No. So we'll go through the checks. But in saying that, I'll get my clients that they'll start doing one of these. And I'm like, all right, do they not want to talk? Or are they thinking? And I'll wait them out for a minute. And I'm like, you still thinking? Yeah. All right, I guess I'll just sit here then. And so I get kind of nervous sometimes, and I'll like pick up my cell phone real quick. Yep. Well, still 12:30. Like I've been waiting there for about 10 minutes. Those get pretty awkward. Not for them, but for me at times. And then after you get to know that client, now you know it just takes them a while to process.
Yeah.
So you ask them a question, let them chill. Because you don't want to overstimulate someone with more questions until they finish that question. I ask a shit ton of questions. So you don't really have to worry about coming into my office and just not knowing what to say. I'm going to lead you to everything. Unless I see that you're emotionally freaking out, well, then I'm going to be like, oh, so there's some stuff going on. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So there's that. I have so many awkward conversations with students. So I love the ones like Bonnie. That's her name in here, Bonnie Plunkett. She's very direct, very honest, very blunt. And so I would have a blast with her. Like we would be in there talking cash shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like the one time I got one for you. You gonna crack up on that one. Person they were fidgeting more, right? Because I ADHD, they're fidgeting more. I said, what's wrong? Oh, my stomach hurt. Oh, why is my stomach hurt? Why? It's the poop.
Like, oh, you're just gonna be that honest. Okay.
See, I can feel it moving in there, moving around. I said, yeah, we might need to talk to a doctor about this one. Because you should be able to feel it moving around in there.
Oh.
And because I'm a visual person, so I was damn near about to throw up the whole time because I was just picturing some stuff moving and some stuff. It was like making sausages or something. It was horrible.
Ew.
So I'm done.
Oh my God.
The honesty that comes out with my clients and the neurodivergent folks is awesome. Sometimes, as a therapist, if you're cool with saying something or question, they're going to be cool with it. Because if you bring up something about maybe their cycle, if you bring up something about their sex life, if you bring up something about their parents, as long as you're cool with it and like you're not like hesitating and stuff, they're cool with it. They're like, oh shit, he doesn't care. Like, I don't care. But sometimes they get me, and the student looked at me, and I just did my best not to puke. I'm like, this is a normal conversation. Have you tried Metamucil?
Metamucil.
Oh my gosh.
I'm done. I'm spent.
Very bad. I know.
What's up, Spence?
This is great.
Yeah. We got the ADHD conversations. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna add off of kind of the initial awkwardness sometimes of the first coming to counseling. I've now built into my like intake speech or that first initial speech that we have with them. I've now started being like, because they come into like my counseling office, and now I just lay out like, here are the rules of my office, or like the general rules of like, I'm like, if you want to take your shoes off, you can take your shoes off. If you want to put them on your feet on the furniture, you can. Like, and I just now I've kind of intentionally tried to lay out of like, I want you to be comfortable. So if there's something in this space I can do to make you more comfortable, I'm like, let's say you come in with a headache and my blinds are up, you want me to pull them down? Like, you can just tell me, hey, can you pull those down? Or, your diffuser, like it's way too smelly in here. Please turn that off. So now I've started to try to do that just so they can have that initial like, okay, like, there's some freedom in this. This isn't like your standard office. It's not rules. I don't have to, because a lot of times they'll come in and they'll like be sitting like this. I'm like, chill, like relax, just sit down, be comfortable, take your jacket off. Like,
I am chill. Why do you question my chillness?
It's very much like that, honestly.
I know. I'd be like, you good? Yeah, I'm good. You're not breathing. I'm breathing. Okay.
Yeah.
It'd be intense. I'm like, you literally sat like this the entire time. That's my normal posture. Let's talk about how you have autism. Have you picked up anything, Dom, on how to get them more comfortable, more relaxed? Have you figured out anything yet working at the new place?
Yeah, I think it's definitely an age thing. So depending on, you can usually get in with the adults pretty fine. Sometimes the teenagers can be a little more tough. So I try to find something that's like in their room to like point out and relate to, and just show that I'm just like also a regular person. Like it doesn't always have to be so serious. But since I'm a mental health practitioner, over time they learn that we are always giving them the bad news, and by proxy they're a little afraid. But usually I'm able to just like let them know, like when we meet, when we have our like little session, like you can control the direction of it. So if you just want to talk at me and don't want to hear me say a word, that's fine. I don't have to say anything. You can just vent your stuff, do whatever. And I usually, depending on their emotional state, I kind of ask them what they want out of the session. So it's like, do you want to problem solve? Do you just want to vent? Do you want my advice on how we can fix this? Like, how do you want this to go? How can I best support you right now? Usually I can figure it out, but sometimes if they're too emotionally unstable, I'm like, okay. How do you think we can fix this? And sometimes it kind of lets them brainstorm on their own for a second and kind of get out of that super high emotional state. Sometimes, not all the time, but I give it a go. So yeah, I'm figuring it out. I think when I worked at the other company, when I was a mental health practitioner and I was going to people's homes, those were all adults. So that was a lot easier. Everybody was pretty open to doing sessions and talking with me. There's only one who our sessions was like pulling teeth. Because it was, now that I think about it, he might have been a little bit neurodivergent. Now that we're talking, I'm like, that kind of tracks. That might be it. Because like it was, part of the program I was in. It's like I shouldn't be doing more work than the clients because like technically they are adults. And so that's what it was for this one. Like I was just doing so much work, like asking a million questions, like, okay, like, do you want to like work on this or this? And he's just like, I don't know, or no. I'm like, okay, so we can just end the session. I'm going to go to the next one. Maybe think of some things that you want to work on next week, make a little list, think about it, please. And then I'll come back, same thing. And I was like, cool, you didn't think about it. Love it. So yeah, I think that was the only one where I was just like, it was very uncomfortable. I would just sit there for a little bit, type some stuff and be like, hey, like, how about this or this? No. Cool. Hey, how about, no, cool. Love it.
Love it.
Yeah. So he was a toughie.
Guaranteed neurodivergent, just from what you're saying.
Yeah, now that we're talking about it, I'm like, he so was.
Yeah,
and I can't remember all of his diagnoses. I'm trying to remember. I think part of it was that he was on the spectrum, but I can't remember the exact term they used. I can't remember. It's been so long.
Anytime let me rephrase that. Working with neurodivergent clients is not always the easiest, and it's a higher cognitive load. It's not like when you go in there with someone that's neurotypical and they just start telling you what's going on, and then like they start like self-reporting things and disclosing it, and then like figuring it out on their own. Sometimes there's a lot of questions, a lot of specifics, a lot of leading feeling to emotion to thought. It's just a lot of exploration. There's more. My brain hurts at the end of the day. After a couple clients, it just like kind of hurts. I don't know how to explain it. It just feels like someone was scraping a wool blanket over the top of my brain. That's what it feels like after those sessions.
That makes sense. Just
or like the green side of the sponge in the sink.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's why I don't have any hair. Too many sponges. I forgot what the fuck I was going to say now. It was going to be about, I like what Serena said. I might try and do that. About stating some stuff about the office. Sometimes I'll say that my specialty is autism, ADHD, students of color. And then I'm like, I got ADHD too. That's why you see all the toys in here. So, it's for you, mostly shit's for me though. Don't touch my shit. Unless you want to. And then ask. And then I tell you not to. Completely joking. I will get multiple humans that normally get overstimulated. A lot of my neurodivergent folks will get overstimulated by other counselors. Then they'll come to me and they're like, damn, this is pretty cool. I'm like, oh yeah, why? I don't know. Well, that helps. The human the other day. This is the first time I've never cried in therapy. I was like, well, that's good. We talked about a lot of stuff too that they technically should have cried. But since I have this dinosaur that has a bunch of sequins on it, so it's one of those sequin dinosaurs, like those sequin pillows, they were just playing with that the entire time, distracted by it and having a blast. It helped them segregate some of those toxic emotions so they could talk. It's why I play with things in the office the entire time too, especially if I feel like it's going to be a heavy session. Like as soon as someone started crying the other day, I'm like, where's my bumblebee? Where's my bumblebee? Ah, there's my bumblebee. And she watched me like grab it. She was like, what the fuck is he doing? Don't you judge me. Your snot running down your nose. Bastard. Having those things to help you regulate is quite wonderful. I got a couple other humans that like those pop-it thingies in my office. Those little bubbles.
Same.
And this human will just it's the fastest I've ever seen in my entire life. It's like really loud, but it's fine because the ADHD part of me enjoys it. But yeah, they never really cry in my office either. When they said they were having like panic attacks with everyone else, it's like this makes no sense. Just the toys regulate you that much.
I believe it.
So making sure your office is comforting is good. Making sure it's more personable. I got a couple colleagues. I'm like, bro, you got to put something in here, bro. This is bad. You ain't got one paint on the wall. He's like, well, I bought this Star Wars Lego thing. I'm like, you got one toy in a 15 by 15 office.
That's the biggest thing I've learned from you and has been a game changer. I've had a couple, like I maybe you remember this, but at St. Mary's when I had that one that I just totally overstimulated an office, and I just in the office and I built their emotions up, and then I went to your office. So I was laughing while you were talking about that. I'm like, I've definitely been one of those therapists that sent them over to your office so they could decompress.
Oh damn, that happened? I don't remember that.
Yes, because and I was just totally unaware. I was very emotion centered, so I went heavy into the emotions, and that was not the move to make. But it turned out just fine. But now I've had a couple like that since, and I'm like, I know, I'm not gonna feed into this. We're not gonna go heavy. Like I just had one, honestly, a couple weeks ago, and I mean it was just like instant crying as soon as they come in. I've tried to bring in some more toys and things, but they were overwhelmed, and I just voiced, I'm like, you can leave at any, not so directly like, hey, get out of here, leave, but
get the fuck out of here, don't you cry in here.
But I brought it up to them. I'm like, hey, if at any point like this gets to be too much, I just want you to know it's okay if you need to leave, or if there's something I can do to make you feel more comfortable. And honestly, after I said that, they were like, oh, like I'm not forced to stay. I was like, no, like if you're feeling really overwhelmed and we've just got to cut it short, I'm like, we don't have to go into any deep history. I'm like, we can just start with whatever's comfortable. And if you want this to be a 20-minute session, we can just do that. And then they ended up calming down and we went the whole hour. And so, but totally,
because you gave them some outs.
Yeah. And I've advocated for all my colleagues. I'm like, get some toys, get like things that reflect your personality. And it's so fun. Like, so I'll have a couple, they'll be like, oh, Pokemon, or like, oh, do you have dogs? Cause I have painted like a little wiener dog and cat and stuff like that. That's my little twist in my office. I paint paintings and then that's what I put on my wall, my DIY painting.
They're like, did your kids draw that?
No, I did. It's pretty good, right?
You're like, oh yeah, it's amazing.
I love a good stick figure.
Yeah. All right.
Honestly, I should do something like that just for do a really bad like stick figure and put it on the wall. Be like, yeah, I made that myself. Pretty good.
I mean, I would. Dom, any ADHD stories when we come back from the edit?
Thank you.
From the break.
There's one that I can think of when I was doing sessions in home. She was a new mom, recently got diagnosed with ADHD, but she was still breastfeeding, so she couldn't like take her Adderall because it would like go into the baby. So we were trying to like really figure that out. So I was working very hands-on with her, and we were doing like creating small goals, like small, like achievable goals, which within like 5 to 10 minutes, and then that'll eventually lead to bigger goals. And I was just like really directing her. I'm like, okay, like, do you want to get this done first, this done first? Which one do you think will take longer? Which one do you think will take shorter? Which one are you like in the mood to do now and do later? Because she really wanted to get like her house situated, because newborn mom stuff, house is kind of a mess. And the dynamic she had with her mom was just like super toxic. Her mom was like terrible. So just really trying to figure that out, boost the confidence, being like, okay, like let's work on these like small goals, and then they'll eventually get to the bigger goals. Like, let's work on these. We got this. Don't even think too hard about it. It's all good. And then the other ADHD client I had, I don't know what medication she was on, but I remember when I first met with her, and she was like, while we're in session, and if you see me clenching my jaw, it's not because of you, it's because of my medication. And I was like, okay, cool. So she was a big just clencher. And I was like, cool. Thanks for letting me know. And with her, she was very directable, I guess. So if she would get off track, I'll be like, all right, bring it back. We're landing the plane. We're going to keep doing what we were just doing. She would get deterred very easily, but I could also bring her back very easily. And we got a lot done. I helped her with like all of her taxes stuff, just like organizing them, getting them ready to roll, figuring out how she wanted to organize them. I helped her with some house stuff too, just because like she had all these things she wanted to do, but she just needed the direction to
Coaching.
Get them done, and like the coaching to achieve them. So I was just there to kind of be like keeping her on course, but she could do it. She just needed someone to keep her on course. So between the two, it was very different and interesting.
We get that a lot. Students would do much better if they had like that coaching or someone with them to help them with their executive functioning. Yeah, that is a very beneficial thing to have, is if someone kind of set this up for you and maybe do it with you a couple times. That way you actually got like the behavior modification now. You're off and running, doing it on your own, and you got confidence. Because with ADHD comes a lot of self-esteem issues, a lot of frustration, a lot of nasty stuff. Everything's too hard. And eventually you just don't even fucking try because it's been too hard. So why try? Just avoid it, because you're going to feel like crap. So we just avoid it, but then everything gets worse. It's a horrible cycle. Lead to a lot of depression. Yep.
I think part of that coaching too is having it broken into those small steps, so it feels so much more attainable, because you can get to this point where everything feels so overwhelming. So even just having somebody be like, we're going to start here, and then we'll get to those big goals, but one step at a time, makes it so digestible. And then it's like, okay, I just have to do that one step, and that's really attainable. And then after they do that, then that motivation and the momentum just grows.
It's a process. Trust the process.
Yeah.
Sports reference.
Sports reference. Yep.
For me, one thing as far as ADHD that I actually think about is something that you had taught me, Naz. I don't remember at the time, but you were reading like an ADHD book, or there was something, but you had talked about a lot of like how much busy brain can impact and then influence mood. And I've seen that quite a bit. Well, with anxiety clients, but also ADHD, but the narrative creation, or if there's a moment where I'm not doing anything or I have nothing to do, I'll create things in my head. And big time, more often than not, the things that they are creating are these self-destructive, or like maybe focusing on a situation and then being like, oh no, like this was actually worse, and now I'm kind of creating this bigger story out of it, and now I have all these feelings about it. It's actually something I notice a lot in myself, and I'm not sure if it's just anxiety or a little of ADHD. I've got a bit of both, so who knows? But when I'm off over the summer, if I don't have things going on, I'll start to get a little dramatic and I start kind of creating stuff, and then I have to be like, oh, I gotta keep myself a little
She
busy.
get a little stabby. She get just a little
I
stabby.
get a little dramatic and I carry a hatchet with me. Like,
Now, which one you want to start some stuff today?
So that's a big focus. And then the other thing that I liked in this video is to like normalizing it, but also building it as a strength. There's so many strengths to ADHD or
Yep.
that you can use, and sometimes even talking with clients and just normalizing it, you know, it'll an example, I had a client that was going to be a teacher, and she was like, I'm really worried because I had someone talking to me, but I was like focusing on kind of some of the background noise and focusing on the students. Do you think that like, that's really bad? Like, I was like, well, were you still able to kind of engage in that conversation? She's like, well, there are a couple of moments I had to be like, I'm sorry, I missed that. What was it? But for the most part, it was okay. I'm like, honestly, I'm like, if it's not debilitating or like seriously consequencing you, I'm like, that'll serve you really well as a teacher. You have to kind of be focusing on everybody at all times. So I'm like, if anything, that's kind of served you well. That's a real strength in that moment. So even sometimes just
Facts.
altering the perspective of like, this could actually benefit you a lot.
Yep. Because it allows your brain to shift between all those different objects or stimuli at once very quickly. So it could benefit them when there's a lot of chaos going on. It could help.
Yeah.
It could also help with distracting from emotions because you'll be in one, but then you get brought to something, other stimuli. Now you don't have to like fall apart so quickly because you're going to be in a different course within moments. I think Dom said she had a client that was kind of flighty with that stuff, and then you had to keep bringing them back. So that's pretty common when I'm working with students is they'll get to talking. And so I have to bring them back, or I know that a couple of them, I can't ask specific things. I have to check my ADD because if I do that, I'll take us in a 5-minute tangent that's got almost nothing to do with nothing. Someone else would just give you like, oh, that's what happened, where some of my clients are like, that's what happened, and here's the story. And here's all the detail about why I chose pink socks today. I'm like, I literally just said nice socks. So that's 15 minutes we're not getting back about the color pink.
That's been a hard skill to learn for me because I want to jump on that. Let's go to all these stories too with them, but being like, okay, veer back. We were talking about this. Let's bring it back to what we were talking about here. And they're like, oh yeah. And bringing it back.
I get the most distracted when I get hungry because they'll bring up some food, and Spencer knows it's on the pod. They bring up food. Wait a minute. Now, what type of food was it?
was it grilled? Was it barbecue? Sauteed?
Was it seed? What did it smell? Describe the smell. Was it pungent?
Was it fruity?
Was it oozing? Yeah, it was oozing. When you eat it, did it just sit in your tongue and then you slept for 5 hours?
Yeah.
Straight up, I'll be talking about food somehow, and I'm like, how the fuck did we get here? And the student will be like, I don't know. I'm like, oh.
That's usually how our conversations go. How did we get here?
Yeah,
No,
I'm like,
I
let's
had no
get back
idea.
to talking about how your boyfriend cheated on you. I'm sorry.
Whoops.
Did he cook?
Took a mean steak, I bet.
You better get back with him. Completely joking. It's so soon for this. What your Serena brought up was correct. As you get someone's brain, right, in that prefrontal cortex, was in the top part of the brain, right, the newest part, right here. With a lot of folks with ADHD, it's understimulated, and so they'll give the folks Vyvanse, Adderall, Concerta, Focalin, which are stimulants, and that helps create all this neural activity in that prefrontal cortex to get you ready, to get you going, because it's just super bogged down, and thus all the issues start to happen with executive functioning. So that's why folks will start to fidget and do things, right? Be more hyperactive because they're trying to engage the prefrontal cortex. When we have folks that are neurodivergent, I like them to fidget or do their stimming or whatever it is. So I'll tell students to get some fidget toys or anything soft, whatever it is. I don't care. You can do your cell phone and just peel the case on and off. You can get one of them pop socket things. You can just take a quarter and rub it. There's nothing. Ooh, this was like a 5-minute conversation the other day about receipt paper. I was like, you ever had a good receipt paper in your pocket? and you just get to touching it and then crinkling it, and then it just turns into dust in your pocket.
That's the worst.
That's the best. Crinkling the receipt in your pocket. It's the best. It's one of my favorite things.
A mess waiting to happen.
This is where OCD and ADD
converge.
Yeah.
Yep. And the student said,
"What are you talking about? This is nasty."
Then the ink will get all on my fingers.
Oh,
No,
here we go. So the student goes, I wore my best friend's coat the other day, and they said, hey. And she looked. She didn't do that.
She got mid-stroke.
She's like, hey, I got a receipt in that coat pocket. She's like, oh, you need it? No, just leave it there. I'm working on crumbling that up. And I was like, yeah, she know what it's about. She know what it's about.
All right.
Go to the store and get another one.
You got to finish one before you get to the next one.
Okay, my bad.
Yep. That's why I can't take shit back. I just keep buying shit and then taking that back.
Oh my God. Let me not get into that. Nope.
Yep. So, ADHD, prefrontal cortex, fidget with some things. If you have some things, or chewing gum. I also like my students to use the not lozenges, cough drops. Because when you do the inhale, it's actually really cold and really minty. And so that'll really get you to relax, and it'll start overstimulating things or stimulating things. Green tea is really good for that. When you were at church and your grandma used to slap you upside the head because you were messing around and fidgeting, and she gets you one of them candies. Any one of them candies that your grandma got in her purse, they got like the cotton balls and shit on it because it's been in there for about 30 years. Get you one of them sucking candies from your grandma.
My God. Hey, you know that grandma that physically abused you? Get a candy from her.
She got that good candy.
Get that toffee.
Yeah, it was. It was butterscotch. It was the worst shit.
Butterscotch is delicious. Don't even say this. See, this is where we differ. Butterscotch is delicious.
Well, I like that.
Werther's butterscotch, right?
It is. I think so.
I fuck with Werther's, dog.
I fuck with it, dude.
It's so good.
Shot it.
Dude, it's so good.
For real, bruh.
For real, bruh. It's good.
Peppermints, get the fuck out of here.
Steep. Actually, peppermint tea or mint tea is very calming as well, but it can also be very stimulating because it's the cooling sensation. Just saying. There's a lot of good things that you can do. What Serena was talking about, though, was the mind getting bogged down and bored, and then you're like, I want to start some shit. So that's when I'm just sitting in the hotel room with Spence and Salim, and like no one's saying anything. I'm just like, Obama.
Yeah. It's not president anymore, just so you know.
Yeah.
It was a while ago.
Well, most of the time it's more profane things. Besides, that's the only thing.
What?
Yeah.
What? Crack chicken.
Yeah. Most people will usually don't have the Tourette's as bad as me. Most of them will just create scenarios in their head, or they might pick a fight subconsciously with their partner, or they'll start maybe like teasing someone or a friend. That tends to be the most common. Or you'll get stuck on something. And you're like, oh, remember that one time I made a fool of myself and I raised my hand and everyone laughed at me because I look stupid? Because I am stupid. I'm always going to be stupid.
I feel like I have those moments all the time. Like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Stuff will hit me from college, and I'm just like, oh, why did I do that? No.
Yeah. I get douche chills all the time from like middle school and high school. I'm just like, okay, yep. And I'm nothing. All right. Cool. Back down to earth. Here we go.
Looking at my Facebook post from like 2007 to
I had to delete
2012
so much shit. I couldn't even look at it. It was so bad.
is bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. And I'm just like, I don't deserve to exist. So the ADHD can lock you onto that, and then lock you onto anxious negative spirals, and then lock you onto a nice night of self-hatred and tears. So those are always fun. Or it'll just lead you down like the Serena path where you just feel like stabbing your husband. So
Yeah. Here's Serena.
stab and twist.
They're stuck in a mountain hotel for a whole winter.
Oh Lord.
Have you ever seen?
I'm not gonna kill you.
I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna play with you a little.
I'm just gonna bash your brains in. I'm like, oh, okay. All right.
Can I wear something cute?
Hello to you, dear.
It's just ADHD. It's not her fault.
Yes.
Perfectly normal.
Yeah.
Not her fault.
Wasn't his fault in The Shining either.
ADHD's kicking pretty bad right now with all of us. So some stories for me. I have a lot of students have comorbid ADHD, struggle with a lot of executive functioning, specifically their schoolwork and procrastination. Sometimes it is how can we find those small baby steps like Dominique was talking about. Sometimes it's about figuring out the passion and why they want to do the school, so maybe that can push them forward. Or maybe it's figuring out how to increase their anxiety. That way it increases their willing to focus instead of waiting until the deadline. Maybe it's trying to prioritize in their life, video games, relationships, socializing, beer, right? Funko Pop research, whatever the fuck it is, anime. How can we prioritize these things and find out what is what and what needs to go where? Don't ever tell someone with ADHD, what you need is a planner. How many times they've heard that? You deserve to get stabbed if you tell a client you need a planner. Like, I'm going to retract that statement so I don't get sued. Well, I apologize for the statement I just said. I'm just going to get that out of the way now so it doesn't have to happen 15 years from now.
You just canceled yourself and apologized without anybody telling you.
Just don't fucking say get a planner, stupid fuckers. Don't tell your clients that. Oh, you need a planner? I didn't think about that.
Why is everybody else Muppets but you? Okay, there it is. And you're wearing the blue shirt too. So there you go.
Have a lot of empathy with the folks with ADHD. A lot of empathy, a lot of patience. You're gonna have to work through a lot of self-esteem stuff, man, because it's gonna be shit's tough. Most of the time, they're failing other classes, academic probation, losing financial aid, losing scholarships. It can be a lot. So have some empathy in there. Start building some small wins. Start trying to help them with stimulation. Think about medication if they actually need it. I think Serena said if it's not really affecting your daily functioning, let's stay away from meds. Stimulants, there's no point. If you're functioning well, there's no point. You learn on how to navigate life, you're good. If you want to try other things like Wellbutrin, Effexor, or Prestique, then, that's awesome. Talk to your counselor, talk to your doctor, and they'll provide that for you. It's a SSRI/SNRI to help you with some focus issues. For a lot of my neurodivergent students, that's a good concoction, Prestique or Effexor. I feel like most of my students will try Wellbutrin for ADHD, and it never works. And then they'll try Strattera, and that won't work either. So, just things that I've noticed. And if you're working with a lot of ADHD or neurodivergent folks, have the toys like Serena talked about. Have some stuff in there to mess around with. It'll help them regulate, and then you can teach them those skills outside the office. So, that was my stories. I always have my students that come back. I'm like, did you do that thing I did? I don't remember what you told me. I'm like, well, fuck, I didn't write it down, so I guess we'll just go to the next subject.
Dang. Neither of you remember.
Oh no. My clients be like, I did my homework now. So I'm like,
What homework?
What was it?
well, you told me to think about this. Oh shit. You better have done that shit.
You think about it? Good.
That's right. Just like I told you.
Just like I done told you. It happens all the time. Me and Serena have got so many clients, you don't remember what you say to them. And you're just hoping to God they latch on to something good. You're just hoping to God it was good.
There goes that curtain.
Yeah.
Student told
I
me.
don't remember shit.
I don't remember nothing. Well, one student said, I was mad at you last time we talked. I said, what did I say? And they said, you called me, what did they say?
You don't even remember.
Nope. Sensitive. I think might have called them sensitive or some version of that.
Ooh.
Yeah, and they didn't like that because, well, they were being sensitive on this one thing. I was like, calm down now, you're triggered. I don't like the word triggered either. I'm like, oh shit, here we go. So then, the next week, I googled synonyms for triggered, and then I said like 50 of them in the session. I know, last week you were, I said, I don't know, engaged, aroused.
Oh,
right.
Words.
I used a whole bunch of other shit, some E's and M words in there. I forgot. Embarked. I don't know. Embargo. I don't know.
Isn't that the best when people are just like, they're like, I'm mad at you because we fought that time. I was like, what did we fight about? What happened? I don't remember. What happened?
Serena can confirm. Or sorry, Dom can confirm that one. I mixed the women up.
Wow.
I see how it is.
Yeah, I just
kind of different.
Yeah, they
Only a
look
little
different.
bit. What do you mean?
They look a little different.
Weird, identical. I don't know what you're talking about.
They both got teeth, so they both look the same.
Yeah. They both have big ass teeth.
You don't have that big, okay? I don't know why I keep bringing up my teeth.
Oh, I might have passed out a little bit.
We lost him. He's gone.
Where'd he go?
You know how hard it is? Lift my big ass head up.
teeth.
Jesus. Just did a full crunch. Okay.
Full oblique.
One, and that's it.
Hit those side abs, you know what I'm saying? Hit those obliques.
It cost 3 cramps.
Okay, that's it for the week.
There it is. The muscle.
What did he say on the longest yard? Just give me can of corn. I just need a can of corn and a Diet Coke and I'm
Can
good.
of corn. I just need a can of corn. Can of corn
And a Diet Coke. All right.
and a Diet Coke.
Oh, God. I love this fucking podcast when we get derailed. ADHD.
That's
This
the
is so well
show.
done.
Going off the
Okay.
rails, folks.
FYI, if you do have ADHD or you're suspect of it, you're sus. You're a little sus. Go to...
You're so stupid, but yet you're being a doctor soon.
Oh,
No, I'm crying. Go to Dr. Amon's
Dr. Nas,
ADD
everybody.
quiz. Go to Dr. Amon's ADD quiz. It's free. It's wonderful to use. It can help you break down the 7 different types of ADHD, whether it's hyper-focused, lethargic, if it's angry, if it's more the bipolar one, is it anxious, is it attentive or hyperactive? So check that out. It's a free tool. I will try to link the quiz here in the comments or bio or whatever the hell it is on YouTube.
all the same.
It's just
I think
I'll
it's
link
bio.
it below.
Link the bio.
Link
Yeah,
it
there you
below.
go.
yeah, we're linking below.
Somewhere
Linking below.
You'll see it.
It's a wonderful quiz that I use for that. And then there's some good books that he does as well. It's one of the lead neuroscientists in the world that works with all brain imaging and scans. And so there's a lot of good information in the book on what meds work, what nutrients and supplements work, diets. I mean, it's all in the books. It's quite wonderful. So that was my last thing I wanted to talk about was Dr. Amon. This was a pod on ADHD and mom. And so we could have went towards a sadder aspect because there's a lot of trauma that's in the show, but I feel like this was a good scene to use to help people. Yeah. We don't need no trauma today.
Today, at least.
Yeah, not today. Yeah, today.
Yeah.
All right.
Wait till our next show.
They will traumatize you real good. First one's free.
We'll make up for it. Alright.
Spence, man, hey, y'all got anything else? Y'all got anything else?
Anything else?
All
I
right,
think we
Serena.
got derailed enough.
Okay, Serena, you still doing any
Think of
Twitch
anything
things, or you just growing the baby inside you?
Wait, what?
Are you still doing any of the Twitch things, or are you just focused on growing a baby?
Oh yeah, definitely just growing a baby. Babies.
Babies.
Yeah,
Yep.
come on now. Watch a television screen for hours and hours.
She could.
You could. Good.
All
All right. With that, thanks for watching, everybody. I'd like to say thank you to Serena and Dom. Thank you for joining us today. Remember to hit those buttons down below, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff.
That's all the buttons.
This has been the Different Spectrums podcast. Goodbye, everybody. That's how we're going to end on. Jackass.
I was hitting the buttons.
All the buttons.
All
I'm
the
supportive.